will be making plum torte. Although this recipe is called plum torte, you can make it with any fruit, and it's November when I'm filming this and we don't have any plums, so I'm going to be doing it with apples. You could do it with different fruit as well. First, you're going to preheat your oven to 350. Then you're going to take a mixer and you're going to put in 1 stick of butter. This stick got a little mushy. This should be soft. And you're going to add in between 3/4 cup and 1 cup of sugar, and this will vary on how much you add in based on what type of fruit you're using. So if you're using a sweeter fruit, you'll want to use less sugar, but if you're using a less sweet fruit, then you'll want to use more sugar. Then you're just going to beat that on medium speed until it's all combined and a bit creamy. Once that's all combined, you're going to add in 1 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, two eggs, and if you want, a pinch of salt. Then you're going to beat that in on low speed since there's flour and you don't want it to go poof in your face. Now it's time to do your fruit. So I don't have any plums, so I'm going to be using apples, but you could use plums or you could use a bunch of other fruits that you think would work well in a tart. So I'm going to use 2 apples. If you're using plums, you would use about 6 of them, 5 or 6. So if you were using plums, you would cut them in half and take the pit out and just have about 12 halves of plum. However, for apples, I'm going to first take the sticker off, and then I'm going to cut this into slightly smaller chunks because unlike if I were using plums, I'm going to actually mix them into the batter rather than just put them on top and let them bake. So I'm just going to cut the core out, and I'm going to take my little pieces and just cut them this big. So I would cut it in half here and then either into halves or thirds. Now I'm just going to do that with both of my apples. You can also add more or less apples depending on how much fruit you would like in your dessert. If you're using apples or another fruit like I am, then you're going to take the mixer part out of the actual mixer. And you're going to take a spatula and you're just going to stir in your apples that way. You don't want to be super aggressive with it, but you want to get them combined. However, if you're using plums, I'll show you what you'll do in a minute. Then you're going to pour your batter into your pan. Then you're just going to spread it out in your pan until it's all evenly. Here's where if you were using plums, you would take your plum halves and place them face down on the top of your batter. However, if you're using another fruit, I would just mix it in so that it cannot get distributed throughout the cake rather than just be on top. Now for the topping, you can just sprinkle a little bit of sugar over the top. And you can also add a little tiny bit of lemon juice, just drizzling it over the top. And you can also add in about a teaspoon of cinnamon that you will also sprinkle on top. Now you're going to put this in the oven for about 1 hour. I'll be back when it comes out. When your torte is done, you can take it out of the oven and set it aside to let it cool. As you can see, the cinnamon got a little bit darker in the oven, but it's not burnt or anything. It will still taste fine. So for this dessert, you can either eat it as dessert or as breakfast. If you were going to eat it as breakfast, you would just wait until the morning and then you would just slice a piece and eat it. If you were going to eat it as dessert, you could sprinkle powdered sugar on top and eat it that way. Since it's the evening, I'm going to eat it as dessert, but after it cools, so I will see you then. So now that it's cool, you can take a knife and just go around the outside of your 9-inch springform pan. Then you're going to undo the little spring and just push the tart out through the bottom. Now you can just sprinkle some powdered sugar on top. And you can cut yourself a piece. And then you can eat it. This is super easy and doesn't take that much time, and yet it's really delicious, and there's a lot of flexibility for this dessert because you can make it with a bunch of different fruits. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and learned how to make it, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.